Well, great. Thank you for having me here today. Good morning. My name is Austin Willman again, and I'm with Mantra Mind Management. It's a company that I created. I've been working with Matt and Sharon, just spitballing some ideas back and forth and kind of working on a program that I think would be impactful to students. So I'd like to share my story, a little bit of background about me. I went to Seneca East and I graduated in 2010, moved on to Columbus and went to the Ohio State University. I graduated in 2015 with a bachelor's degree in psychology. I was also in the Ohio State Marching Band for 4 years. That's not really relevant, but it's one of my accomplishments. I thought I'd share it. So after graduation, I experimented a lot with careers and occupations. Just to name a couple, I started in the service industry and I moved up through restaurant management. I left the service industry to go to the corporate world, and I worked for a retail credit card company. After that, I dabbled in real estate investing. I actually formed a company which was later dissolved. I did substitute teaching for a little bit, believe it or not. I've always been a music educator through my marching band career. My mom's actually the band director at Seneca East, so that's kind of what got me started in that. So I've taught with high school band programs and also competitive percussion programs all throughout the state of Ohio, throughout college and beyond. I actually achieved licenses in life insurance sales and a Series 6 license for mutual fund investing, and did financial planning for a little while. I was in the recruiting world as well, and I've also done some small business consulting in Columbus and companies in Sandusky. And I was good at everything, which is the problem. I had analysis paralysis, which is what we like to call it, when there's so many options that you could be good at and you could do that you just paralyze and don't pick any of them. So that's kind of where I was at with the analysis paralysis, especially with the transparency of social media and the internet that showed me all the options that I could have. I had FOMO, fear of missing out. So it was only after I stopped looking outside for recognition was I able to figure out kind of who Austin was. You know, I kept looking outside for a box to put myself in, and I wasn't finding it. So I left Columbus to get back to my roots in Attica, where I dove back into my past and my upbringing to uncover my values and where my perspectives originated. I became self-aware of my thoughts and my behaviors, and I realized that many of my attitudes were not my own. Instead, they were subconsciously installed by other people over the course of time, especially in areas where I had not taken the time to identify my own values to myself. So realizing the misalignment between who I was and who I wanted to be and who I was perceived to be by other people, I created a new vision for myself. So the biggest problem that I've had has always been finding the right box to put myself into, right? Ironically, the biggest problems can also be the biggest opportunities. So now a part of my mission is to help young people create their own box to fit into, guiding them through the same process that took me from my own personal detention to living with personal intention. So with that, I created a program called Humans in Progress, which is basically my process that I went through, broken down into 12 weeks in 3 phases. So this course is developed really to build strong mental foundations on which a balanced and fulfilling life can be pursued. So I'll kind of quickly go over the 3 phases. Over the course of 12 weeks, we break these down basically into your past, your present, and then your future. They're meant to be taken in sequential order to build a mental house, starting with the foundation and then with the blueprint, and then going through and decorating in whatever way you please. So quickly, phase 1 is identifying your individual traits and sketching a story around growing up. Phase 2 will be practicing soft skills through group exercises, community involvement, and applicable homework. And then Phase 3 is creating a vision for yourself and a new story to move forward in life with intention created by the individual. So these are just kind of the 3 phases that I noticed myself going through, looking back on my past and moving to my present and then designing my future. So a little more about these 3. Phase 1, I call it your story. So most people don't become self-aware of who they are, like me, until it's too late and many important life decisions have been made. So in Phase 1, we'll be asking questions, like we said, diving into your past and asking, where did your attitudes come from? What decisions in your life have already been made for you? And what are your biggest motivators, and how does that, your motivations growing up, how does that affect you and how you behave now? So in Phase 1, we'll have the opportunity to explore our past with an open mind and analyze which aspects of our lives are falling short of our expectations. Phase 2 is called Story in Motion. Like I said, these are meant to be in sequential order. Emotional intelligence is the root of many of our problems and solutions in the 21st century. Often the increase in pleasure or the decrease in pain in our lives rides heavily on the ability to communicate well with others and taking the appropriate actions at the appropriate times. So the ability to regulate these emotions and thrive in social settings can have a direct influence on our quality of life. So in Phase 2, we'll really be addressing and practicing situations that involve good and bad stress and coping with stress mechanisms. We'll be learning and diving deeper into empathy and active listening techniques. We'll be working on becoming resilient in our personal lives and in our social lives and identifying fixed and growth mindsets and how those are affecting our thought process. And we'll also be finding the originations of fear and anxiety and learning how to overcome those emotions and use those to our advantage. Which moves us on to Phase 3, the next chapter. As you can probably guess, Phase 3 is about the future. Now there are plenty of programs out there already, as Sharon said, focused on career development and emotional intelligence, but job skills are secondary to internal motivation. What do millennials want when they look for a career? I'm a millennial myself. There's a lot of buzz around the work-life balance. Now, we can identify what work is. That's not hard. And there are plenty of programs that address that. But what about the life part in the equation? What about balance? We'll be looking into that equation a lot more here in Phase 3. We'll be looking at success definitions for yourself and what success means to you and how it differs from other people's version of success and how that's okay to have that difference. We'll be looking at lifestyle non-negotiables. These are the aspects of your life which you will not compromise no matter how great the opportunity may seem. And we'll also, of course, be talking about money and attitude towards money and how to make it, because we all know there are a million ways to make $1 million, right? So Phase 3 really ties in Phase 1 and Phase 2 and uses it to create a lifestyle by design in Phase 3. We talked about having this pilot program running, and there's plenty of room for improvement and adjustment, so it's not a cookie cutter program for our kids that may be bought from like a John Maxwell Youth Max or any other of those leadership type of programs. It will be catered specifically to the participants and utilizing the feedback in order to shape where the program goes. So a couple bonuses, because this is definitely my passion. This is my full-time thing. I want to open up my own personal resources to ensure the quality and the success of the program and the participants. So I don't want to leave any stones unturned. just a couple bonuses that I thought of. I'll facilitate the cash flow game, which is cash flow is a game by Robert Kiyosaki, which basically teaches about money concepts and how to make money and how to manage your finance around financial education. I'll obviously open up my network of young professionals and young entrepreneurs around the country. I will assist in finding outside resources and additional counseling as needed for the participants, and access to Mastermind, which is a group that I facilitate here in Tiffin and which will be expanding all over the place in the next couple years. So that's what I have. I'm here to help, and I'm completely open to whatever sort of feedback you might have. Actually, I prefer feedback, so I videotape myself. So thank you again. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, Austin.
Yeah.